Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture. Intel has told us there are at least 7.
Okay, I already see one. Give him. Okay.
They're the same picture.
Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and I just want to thank everybody. We're getting really close to 26,000 subs. If you keep hitting that button, I really appreciate it. But today I wanted to go into a topic. Well, we got nerfs coming, right? We always have nerfs. There's nerfs all the time. But I wanted to go over, sometimes nerfs just don't seem to have much of a point, whether the nerf doesn't really affect the card and why it's broken, or just the nerf timing just seems really odd and out of place. So today I wanted to go over 10 nerfs that just really seemed completely pointless and even to this day just don't make a ton of sense. So let's go over it. 10 of the most pointless nerfs in Hearthstone history. Starting off at number 10, we have a very old nerf, and you might argue there was a point. It probably was more relevant back in the day, but that's Eaglehorn Bow, the 3-mana weapon for Hunter. It used to get an extra durability whenever any secret would proc, whether it be friendly or enemy, and I guess in the mirror, that'd be a pretty big deal, but you get more durability. But overall, this card was basically in every Hunter deck forever and ever until it's, well, no longer a part of the core set. And, you know, secrets aren't super relevant, aren't super insane, but I guess for those mirror situations, you got a little bit less durability, but overall, this was just a really incredible weapon that stayed very powerful throughout its entire run, and I guess it was a quality of life change at the time, but overall, if you look back at it, would it really have made that much of a difference, whether it got durability from a friendly or an enemy secret? I don't think it would have made a huge ton. At number 9, we have a wild-centric nerf. Open the Waygate. Originally, back in the day, like a year ago, you would have to cast 6 spells that didn't start in your deck to gain access to an extra turn, and then they nerfed it to 8 spells, and well, they didn't really change a heck of a lot. Honestly, the deck stayed basically the same because the core issue with the deck wasn't really so much how long it took to complete the quest when you have cards like Evocation and Mana Cyclone and all these ridiculous spell generators. At the very best, this nerf slowed the deck down a turn, and usually not even then. It was definitely Apprentice was an issue. Definitely 1-mana Evocation at the time was an issue, and the card eventually just kind of became nerfed by power creep in the game, where there be mage just getting access to like Incanter's Flow and Spring Water, making the quest irrelevant, or just the hyper aggression of other classes making quest mage too slow, or the nerf of Evocation to 2 mana. Those were the big changes that made quest mage basically not as prevalent, and this nerf itself, I remember the day after, the win rate on the card actually went up. It actually went up because we saw the nerf, I believe, of Darkest Hour Warlock at the same time, and Quest Mage, one of its biggest counters, was gone. So yeah, this nerf didn't do a heck of a lot, but Quest Mage has been kind of held back a bit lately, basically by more broken stuff rather than this nerf being relevant. At number 8, we're gonna go with Hex. Back in the day, Hex used to cost 3 mana, and there was like this big balance patch, and for some reason, like everyone was surprised Hex was included to go to 4. Like it wasn't unreasonable. Polymorph, 4 mana, similar type of spell, but it was just so out of the blue. Shaman wasn't doing anything offensive. It wasn't that prevalent in the meta, but I guess it's Shaman. It needs to suck more, and Hex went to 4, and it just didn't really make much sense at the time, and if you look at it now, it really still doesn't make a ton of sense. I guess to be a little bit more efficient, you could play it in Odd Shaman, but overall, Hex at 3, Hex at 4, it just felt weird. It felt out of place, and even to this very day, I still don't quite get it, but I guess it's similar to Polymorph now, so we're on that level, but then why didn't they do that day 1? Anyways, just a weird nerf. At number 7, we have another wild-centric nerf. This was literally done according to Alex Dawson for Wild, and that's Dark Lair. Used to be a 3-mana 3/4. Every time your hero takes damage, you refresh 2 crystals, and well, now it's a 2-mana 2/3 that whenever your hero takes damage, you refresh a crystal. This was done so Dark Lair Warlock wouldn't be so oppressive in Wild. It wouldn't create these unanswerable board states on like turns 2, 3, 4, and 5, and well, it does the exact same thing to this very day, despite nerfs to even Penflinger as well on top of it. It just didn't do it. It's the infinite mana generation that is the problem with this card, why it allows you to cheat so much mana early when you can do it in increments of one. You have like Cobalt Librarian, you had Penflinger, you have Raise Dead, you have Spirit Bomb, you have all these cards that can do damage for 1 mana, infinitely chain, and you know, it doesn't take very long to get a Flesh Giant out or a Molten Giant out. You Loatheb, you win the game. Dark Lair, before the nerf, after the nerf, basically operates in the exact same fashion and has a very similar win rate across the board, and is a card that I could likely see get nerfed at some point if they ever decide to be like, hey, maybe we should care about Lyle just a little bit. Maybe we'll just, you know, notch this back. And it doesn't even really see playing standard these days because like the Zoo lock and discard lock synergies aren't there. It's just reigning terror and wild to this very day. At number 6, we have Blood Boil Brute, the Warrior Rush minion. This hasn't been reverted yet, still in standard. Originally was a 6/8 with Rush. You get the discounts for damage minions, and then it got nerfed to a 5/8. And again, it was like that one attack. Is that a big deal? Not really. It was auto-included in every risky skipper deck for a very long time, especially like Town Crier to cheat it out in Wild and stuff like that. I just didn't get it. It didn't make any sense. Like, again, it wasn't really the problematic part was the attack. It was how easy you could cheat it out. And yeah, it literally got caught from 0 lists. Its effectiveness basically was the exact same. It just, I guess its offensive capabilities were diminished just a tiny little bit. But overall, just really didn't make a ton of sense. You thought you'd bump it up a mana. Like, remember Mogu Fleshaper? That went from 7 to 9 mana because it got cheated out too easily. And then you have Blood Boil Brute, which, you know, let's take an attack off. It just really peculiar, really odd, and one that I still don't really get to this day. At number 5, we have Shatter Jeweler Hanar. It was originally a 2 mana 1/5 and then nerfed to a 1/4. So it would be slightly more fragile. But if we've learned anything about 4 health 2-drops, they're really hard to kill, whether it's a Crab Rider, a Watch Post, whatever, they're really hard to kill. So Shadow Jeweler Hanar, still absolutely broken. The main thing about it that was busted was the infinite secret generation that would basically protect it, whether it be through a redemption, although that rotated, making it more fragile, but like a counter spell, an Oh My Yogg, Never Surrender, cards like that. And it's like impossible to kill, infinite value, just problematic in that regard, and taking a health off of it didn't really change that, and it's still a very frustrating card to face if you're any slower deck, because yeah, it's like, how do you kill a 4 health minion on turn 2? Priest doesn't even have Shadow Word Pain anymore. It's like you have to have like a 2-card combo, or else you're gonna get comboed by secrets up the wazoo, and basically it's the exact same card whether it has 5 or 4 health. At number 4, we have an old card on the list that's really never been meta, but it got bullied. It got bullied because Defile came into the game, and that's Dreadsteed. 4 mana 1/1 demon for Warlock. Death Rattle resummoned Dreadsteed was the original one, and then they changed it when Defile came into the game to Death Rattle resummoned like Dreadsteed at the end of your turn, so it couldn't infinitely loop with Defile because apparently it was game breaking. The thing is, if this makes sense, if we're gonna say we're nerfing Dreadsteed for this reason, I mean, Grim Patron's in the game. Grim Patron does literally the exact same thing, and it has like this animation cap. I don't know how many it is, 13, 15 or whatever. After 13 or 15 loops, it will stop. So wouldn't have it done the same thing for Dreadsteed? And it makes no sense. I don't understand why this was nerfed when Grim Patron, which is a neutral card, by the way, 1 mana more, but it can infinitely loop as well. You can do Death Speaker stuff to infinitely loop as well, make things immune. It just doesn't make any sense. And Dreadsteed was basically a meme card. It was a really cool card, amazing animation, sweet flavor, and it's never been reverted, and it doesn't make sense to me, and it's one that makes me sad. And I would love for Dreadsteed to go back to the way it is, because again, if it was for Defile, there's an animation cap. So what's the hiccup? What's the deal? I just don't quite understand it. At number 3, we have Glaive Bound Adept, the Demon Hunter Demon. It's like 5 mana, 7/4 demon. If your hero is attacked this turn, push 4 attack. And this card was really good in like aggro decks, so they nerfed it to 6 attack, because that really made a difference. It still did the same amount of damage. It still was 5 mana. And if you got hit by it from a Demon Hunter for 6 damage, you're going to die regardless. It was still run in pretty much every deck that it was running before, and then continued to for a very long time. And it just made no sense. Like, I guess they wanted it to survive to BGH. It was almost a buff. If BGH was meta, this was a buff. It just really didn't make sense. That 1 attack, like how often would that ever be relevant? Basically, if this hits you, you're going to die. And it just, again, really weird, one of the weirdest ones, I have to say for sure. Just don't quite understand it. At number 2, the top 2, by the way, I really struggled to pick which one should be on here. This one's very debatable to be number 1, but number 2 for me, Bloodsworn Mercenary, the warrior minion, 3 mana 3/3 originally. Copy a damaged minion on your friendly minion on the battlefield, and this was really good with your chargers, Corcoran Elites, Blood Boil Brutes, armor, whatever you want to copy, a Rattlegore, whatever. Really, really good. And then it was too good. So, you know, a 3-mana copy effect, it's too efficient. Let's nerf it by taking an attack and a health off. It went to a 2/2. Like it was never the stats. Who cares about it being a 2/2 and a 3/3? That matters so little. Like, it was almost always for its cheap copy effect. It's like nerfing Faceless Manipulator almost from a 3/3 to a 2/2. I know it's a bit more extreme because it transforms, but at the same time, it just didn't make sense. You thought they'd make it 4, make it less efficient, right? But no, it went to a 2/2. The card was in literally every deck that it was ever in before, did the exact same thing, was just as powerful, and I'm just like, why? This card is literally the exact same outside of like maybe a 0.1% chance of games where, well, that 1 damage and 1 health, that was game winning. Pretty rare circumstances. And before we get to number 1, I have a couple of honorable mentions. First being Jaina Proudmoore. Something about her looks a little bit different between these two portraits, and I think it was completely unnecessary to cover her up. I just don't get it. Let Jaina show her assets, you know? She's a proud woman, and she feels nerfed, and it just felt like it was completely pointless and unnecessary. Another mention is the spell damage totem so far for Shaman. It just feels like it's made Shaman really worse right now. They have so much spell damage stuff going on in the game. I don't quite get it, but I'm not putting it on the list because I feel like there's a reason for it, and we'll see at some point where the strength totem outshines the spell damage totem, or there's a reason, but as of right now, it feels kind of pointless other than just to make Shaman suck even more. And lastly, I will go with nerfing the emotes. They got rid of sorry. I'm Canadian. I want to say sorry. What is the point of not allowing me to be polite and say sorry? I don't understand it. Come on, bring sorry back. Anyways, number 1 most pointless nerf of all time, in my opinion, is the Rogue Minion Evil Miscreant. Originally a 3-mana 1/5 combo, add 2 random lackeys to your hand. It became a 1/4, and was this ever not run in a rogue deck in standard outside of like aggro weapon rogue? Like, that's it. Even odd rogue runs it. Like, the 1 health made it slightly more vulnerable. I guess it was less likely to stick around for an evolved lackey, but pretty much always stuck around for an evolved lackey, and it just changed nothing. It was the lackeys that were busted. The cheap lackeys, getting 2 of them was incredible, super powerful, and it was just nerfed because, well, Rogue's really good, but we want it to be really good, so we're going to do this nerf that does absolutely nothing, and the card will still be auto-run in basically any single value generating Rogue deck until the end of time where power creep happens, which, well, of course, will happen. This card will never see play in Wild. Basically doesn't already. But regardless, to me, it was mind-boggling that it went from a 1/5 to a 1/4. And I don't know, I hate lackeys and all that stuff, but at the same time, I would have rather just leave it as a 1/5. What's the point? It was just one of those, I appreciate the dust for people, I guess, if you have extra copies, but you were going to hold on to this, you were going to play it, and Evil Miscreant was just basically the most commonplace rogue card from Rise of Shadows until the end of time, and yeah, just a ridiculous card, and you might not even remember that it used to be a 1/5, but yes, Evil Miscreant used to be a 1/5. Quick editor's note while editing this last, like right at the last second, I realized Secret Passage isn't on this list because I forgot it was nerfed. So that's probably number 1. Let me know in the comments below which ones you agree with, disagree with, or any honorable mentions or cards that should be on the list that I've forgotten. Make sure to tune in tomorrow. We got the achievement guide coming for Barons, so check that out. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day. Stay salty, my friends.